Oi, oi, how's it going? It's been a while. I feel like every time I'm gonna release a video and I'm gonna start off saying that shit because yeah, it's been like 7 months since I've actually uploaded. Anyways, that being said, I just finished the pro goals on Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4 remake, and after completing pretty much the whole game, yeah, I'm disappointed. And I was in two minds whether to do a 3 and 4 review or actually just, kind of jump online to see what other people thought. Because I didn't know if I was in the minority when I say that I thought this game was massively disappointing. I wouldn't go as far as to say the game was bad. It just didn't capture that same greatness that the originals had, or even Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 remake had. So I hopped online to see it was actually kind of divisive. A lot of people actually liked the game, and I'd say a few more think the game was kind of shit. And then I saw Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4 was an artistic disaster by the small dude. And holy fucking shit, this is the most anti-woke propaganda bullshit that I've ever seen.
My name is Glenn Quagmire, and today I'm going to tell you why this game is propaganda. How does this game force you to change your behavior as a consumer? Why did they remove all of that content from the game, and what did they replace it with? And most importantly, how many subliminal messages are in this game?
Just in case you didn't know this about the Tony Hawk franchise, it's not Dustborn. This game is about skateboarding, and somehow this guy spins the game's problem to being Tony Hawk being woke, and for the original Tony Hawk games muscled out to be obsolete because they're just too edgy for today's gaming landscape. And yes, when I clicked on this video, I had a similar sentiment in terms of the game being a huge misstep for the franchise. And the more the video went on, the more I found myself disagreeing with you, Mr. Small Dude. The video actually starts off pretty good with the take of cultural significance in the Pro Skater games.
The Tony Hawk's games introduced counterculture to an entire generation of 10-year-old white boys.
The Family Guy skits a hit or miss, but whatever. With a good amount of views around the time, including myself, found a love for skateboarding through the Tony Hawk games. I was introduced to Pro Skater 4, then went on to play 3, then to Underground 2, then to Underground, then to American Wasteland, and later was introduced to 1 and 2 and everything that came after.
This may be a skateboarding game, but it had a significant role in creating a new male identity. Since the dawn of time, there was conventional masculinity. Conventional masculinity emphasized competition, domination, and hierarchy. But somewhere in the late 90s to the early 2000s, alternative masculinity was invented. Alternative masculinity celebrated individualism, creativity, and non-conformity.
You kind of lose me a bit when you say that skateboarding was the new form of conventional masculinity, because it really wasn't. It was more of a staple of one of your buzzwords, that being non-conformity. It was a form of rebellion towards youth, in a similar way that punk music was to kids in the 70s and 80s. No one looked at skateboarders and thought, wow, look how manly they are. They were more inclined to think, wow, look at those little punks on their human-powered vehicles damaging society. And just because skateboarding was male-dominated doesn't make the sport a form of masculinity. The sport of MMA isn't even a form of masculinity, because a lot of females like skateboarding participate in it. Because it's a sport. I think the definition of cultural masculinity and pop culture sort of mesh into one when they are very, very different things. Just because something is cool to a male does not make it a masculine trait. Going back to the game, you say Tony Hawk Pro Skater was an original concept, like it was the first of its kind.
These games were an original concept created by a passionate team of artists. There was no skateboarding games, and then there was.
Also wrong. Games like 720, Skate or Die, California Games, and Thrasher Skate and Destroy all came before Tony Hawk Pro Skater. The Pro Skater franchise just popularized skate games. It wasn't an original concept.
The gameplay, the sound design, none of that existed until these developers created it.
Yeah, like No shit. Like, there was no Master Chief until Bungie created Halo. There was no The Small Dude channel until The Small Dude created the channel. Like, what the fuck's your point there?
Wow, that looks pretty bad.
What are you talking about, Peter? It's in 4K! Yeah, I think Peter's trying to say that it looks bad because it doesn't look fun.
Moving on to the flawed remakes bit of the video, where I'm still confused on whether I agree, because the argument's definitely there. It's just, he used such bad examples. He says that the game lacks fun because it tries too hard to be realistic.
Every video game right now is trying to be realistic, and hardly any games are innovating on style, personality, or even gameplay.
Which I kind of want to take apart, because the game from day one was always meant to walk a fine line between realism and over the top. In terms of look and aesthetic, this is how Tony Hawk was always meant to look. It's just in 1999, the graphical limitations of the PS1 speak for themselves. Obviously, you're not getting hyper-realistic graphics from a PS1, but the devs tried to make it look as realistic as possible. The gameplay, however, is meant to be over the top, and I would argue that it still is. Just because you went up a ramp to do a varial kickflip doesn't mean the game was watered down to be more realistic. Because if you do that trick in any other Pro Skater game, it would look near identical. Like, what did you want the outcome to be from that? Fly to the sky on some Skate 3 bullshit? I get that it was meant to lead into the argument of the game being dull, and that is something I do agree with, but the start of the argument being it tries too hard to be realistic was a terrible way to start it off. I do feel like both Tony Hawk remakes do feel a little dull at times with the lack of NPCs walking around, but come on, I think you're blowing it out of proportion a little bit.
But we do not value creativity based on how accurately it can replicate real life. We value creative works based on how it makes us feel. Abstractions allow us to use our imagination. We create meaning inside of our own heads. Abstract.
What the fuck are we doing here? Pipe down, Peter, with your philosophical bullshit. Let's get to this doozy.
It's a remaster of an all-time classic. A lot of people thought this was fun the first time they released it.
My recollection is that it went extremely well.
So why wouldn't it be fun? That's the bare minimum of what I expect from this.
He says that the game was fun by default because they were capitalizing off a game that was already fun. If you take that at face value, yeah, it's true. You know, same car, new paint type shit. But if you go a little deeper into this statement, it's not as true as it sounds. There are so many games that follow this formula and end up being worse than the originals. Two great examples are within this very franchise.
Remaking a game suggests that video games can become obsolete.
I hate this bullshit argument that remakes are only used to muscle out the originals and make them obsolete. It's just a dumb as fuck take. The visuals show Silent Hill 2, which, although it follows the same story, the remake is quite different from the base game, making both games satisfying experiences. The original has a lot more side content and places to explore, the puzzles are a lot harder, and the map provides more of an open experience, whereas the remake is a lot better mechanically and visually. It depicts Silent Hill a lot better, way better voice acting, and different parts of the story have been tweaked, and in some of these changes, I actually prefer to the original story. So comparing these to the Tony Hawk games is just silly. You say you disagree with the video games being out of date, hence the remakes, but usually that comes down to the game itself. For example, one of my favorite video games of all time is Jak and Daxter and the Precursor Legacy, and it's a game that holds the test of time, and I would never need a remake. But games like Yakuza Kiwami benefited from its remake, with better camera controls, a more enhanced fighting system, and loads more content towards the story. A case can also be made for Resident Evil 4, which kind of falls in the middle of these two. Some people enjoy that jank and the voice acting, but the remake fixed the terrible camera controls and provided a more refined gameplay experience. Some remakes go above and beyond and change massively, like Resident Evil 2 or Final Fantasy 7, which the only thing they keep around is really the story.
But what about games like Resident Evil 1? That was a good remake, I'd say. That Resident was evil as hell. That remake was directed by the same team as the original version, okay? Let's not bring up outliers from 25 years ago for the sake of being obtuse.
The small dude acts like if a remake comes out, that means the original will never be mentioned again, which couldn't be further from the truth.
Remakes are designed to replace the original version. these games will get forgotten. They won't get ported and they won't get remastered.
I still play Dead Space because I like the story beat of Isaac not being able to speak due to faulty comms, whereas he has a voice actor in the remake, which takes me out of the atmosphere. I play Silent Hill 2 for all of its difficult puzzles and extra content that was left out of the remake. The games aren't going anywhere, and you even mention this, but you brush it off saying,
You know damn well that the original versions are not convenient to play. Most people will not be bothered to figure out how to get an emulator working, and anyone who didn't play the original games will just assume that it was a total pile of shit anyway.
That has nothing to do with remakes. That's because games get fucking old. It's almost like materialistic things get old, like a car or a phone. And video games are no exception. And to be honest, they're not even that hard to get. Here's me playing Tony Hawk Pro Skater 4. Here's me playing Ratchet & Clank. If anything, remakes can, in ways, help the original because they're easily accessible to go out and buy. And if the game intrigues you and you want to experience the original, it's always there to get. Playing shit on an outdated console can be just as hard as emulation, and obviously more expensive. And as far as people always thinking the original will be shit after playing the remake, if your solution was just to remaster everything, that can still go terribly wrong. For example, the Silent Hill HD remaster or the GTA Definitive Edition. You say people won't be bothered to seek out the OG games, but that's not true because most people who are into retro gaming or are a content creator or just want to play the game just with enhanced visuals and resolution, emulation is the best and easiest way to go. For some people, it's actually the preferred way to play some of these games. So you using this argument makes it kind of redundant because the people who are actually playing these remakes and are interested enough to go play the retro games, they will seek it out. And this is by far the worst fucking take to come out of this video.
This game is woke due to inclusivity, corporatism, and compliance.
A game is a collection of ideas. It may not be pretty, but that's how it was. These ideas have now been overwritten with new ideas of inclusivity. The new developers have different beliefs to the old developers. Therefore, the message of the new game is not the same as the message of the old game.
He talks about developers' Iron Galaxy being filled with women and gays, as opposed to an all-white man lineup like the Boston Celtics of 1946. It says the game is ruined because it had a message of "we hate cops" and "Officer Dick." And because of women, we now get "Cops are funny" and "Officer Dick." But this time it's just played by Jack Black.
If you remake a work of art and intentionally change its message as a replacement of the original work, you are rewriting history. That is propaganda.
Nothing is changed apart from the mocap and the voice actor being Jack Black. Calling it propaganda? What? Just because the development team has changed from the original doesn't mean the message changes with it. Resi 2 still hit the same beat when it was remade 20 years later. Don't get it misconstrued. I hate people on both sides of this fucking argument. With these woke and anti-woke ideologies, I just kind of see a person for how they are and not their fucking agendas that come with it. So when you start spewing this shit with crap examples, I'm obviously gonna call you out on it.
Your character's not a doctor. This is modern gaming's idea of a funny joke. What the hell is fun about this? It just reminds me of that time where everybody died.
Bro, it's not that topical anymore. You can probably just let it go. If you have a problem with that, I think you seriously need to get some help. You take offense to the mask being included because it's a poor, edgy joke in a franchise full of poor, edgy jokes, with the only difference being the dev team has women in it now, so that makes it worse. You call Iron Galaxy out for being a bunch of softcocks for removing all the edgy jokes, and then when face masks are added, you get offended?
Activision removed swastikas from a video game about World War II, but they incorporated a deeply polarizing and contentious government directive in a skateboarding game.
I can't believe that I have to say this, but those are not on the same level.
I don't know, Peter. This game is full of corporate bullshit.
Have you ever played a sports game in your life? Have you ever played a Tony Hawk game in your life?
And it has crazy characters. Does it have crazy characters? Okay, let's have a look at these characters then.
This just shows that you don't know shit about skateboarding when you name the roster of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4. You go through some of the original roster and surprisingly don't mention female skater Alyssa Steamer. And for some reason you say Bam Margera is not in the game. He is.
It is wild that they didn't include Bam Margera.
I get it. You were trying to have Bam Margera being the last minute addition to help your argument later in the video. It doesn't.
Nora Vast can't say. Oh, it's gone. Well, Zion Wright. He's a black guy. That's pretty cool. Tyshawn Jones, black guy number 2. And keep him coming, I say. Nigel Houston, not sure what he is. Asian, maybe? Marjeline, well, that was definitely Asian. Oh my god. Oh, lettuce buffer. Back to the women again. These skaters are all included based on merit, by the way. You can tell by his rainbow t-shirt and his mouth gesture that this guy's definitely French.
Newsflash, just because someone has a rainbow on their hoodie doesn't mean they're gay.
Oh, Quagmire, wait until you see this. Oh my god! He's a skateboarder with no legs!
Hey guys, look at all the skaters that aren't straight white males. Yeah, the joke's not fucking funny, bro. Then you bring up the inclusion of trans skater Leo Baker, who was also in Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 remake.
Tony Hawk's Remastered features the first ever transgender skateboarder!
It's really cool that they're showcasing a variety of different skateboarders.
Baker in her interview trailer says that it's important to her that she and other women are in the game because it shows that the minority of female skaters and LGBTQ skaters can be successful in this profession.
Me as like a queer skater, I think is really important, really important, really important, really important, really important.
Really important for who?
I know your two working brain cells might struggle to comprehend this, but when people have identity issues or struggle to be themselves due to prejudice or even internal factors, they look for relatability. So for trans skater Leo Baker, they've taken on the role model role for her community to show that trans people can be successful skaters. And just because it's not important to you doesn't mean it isn't important to someone else. This is like 3rd grade shit. Why do I have to explain this?
And of course, we all know about the time that they got sued for massive sexual harassment issues, guys getting drunk in the office and invading the women's bathroom, and then that woman took her own life because of the intense harassment and people circulated her nude photos at the Christmas party. You're telling me that Activision, a company who merrily turns children into gambling addicts, exploits its customer base, and violates women sexually, they are your ally? You share the same values? Or are you both just self-interested parties who can mutually benefit from each other's influence, taking advantage of your abused customers to get more money for yourselves?
The fact that you try to spin this narrative that Leo Baker is a bad person for being in a Tony Hawk game because of former employees of Activision are shitty people is just fucking insensitive and stupid. And if this is the belief you have, then why aren't you criticizing someone like Tony Hawk, Rodney Mullen, or Bam Margera? It's because it doesn't work with your fucking narrative.
Am I being cynical?
Yes, you are. You're acting like the decision of one person who grew up idolizing Tony Hawk to be in a Tony Hawk game is the whole decision of the whole fucking community they are a part of.
I don't know what I've been told. Transsexuals in video games is not normal.
I'll spare you the bit that he's doing here because it's fucking awful, but he ends with trans people being in games isn't normal. I disagree. If they have an interesting story to tell and it makes sense within the narrative of a game, or in this case, if they're a real fucking person, I think they should be included in the game.
Is it fun to have transgenders in this game? It is for them. Yeah, but what about for me? I don't care if people are transgender. I don't care if people are gay. It's not relevant to my life. If you want to be represented in mainstream media, make your own thing.
He says that if you're gay or trans, make your own game. Mate, they're accomplished real-life skateboarders. I don't know why you're going on this tangent like they're a make-believe character. Like, no, this is a roster of real people who have cemented their legacy in skating.
The original game included people because of their real-life innovations. Tony Hawk had just recently been the first person to do a 900. Rodney Mullen invented the kickflip, And when Bam was included, it was because he had made his own success with CKY, Jackass, and his skateboarding career. This handsome gentleman was included in the game because he's trans. All this says is that identity is more important than skill or talent.
You know what? Let me just pull it up real quick. Leo Baker, 2-time Street League Skateboarding Super Crown World Champion, also came third in 2018. He was a part of the first USA Olympic skateboarding team. He won the X Games Street Championship in 2014, placing 5 other times, and is also an athlete signed under Nike SB. And you're saying he needs to prove himself? You're protesting to remove him for Private Carrera, a fictional character with big polygon titties. I hate it because it's evident that you don't know shit about skateboarding, and the fact that you think you're cooking right now is just sad.
This typeface, this timer, this special meter. Actually look at it. Who likes this? I get that most people will tolerate this, but you will not find anyone who actively prefers it, because this is corporate design.
You can say that the HUD is a corporate design, and like, I understand your argument, but I think it's more so just lazy. Just because something is done simplistically doesn't mean it's done by corporate higher-ups.
These numbers and letters are clean and round. The text is easy to see, but it has no personality. It is boring.
After 22 minutes of having dumb as fuck takes, I actually agree with this one. I agree that the HUD looks simplistic and boring and lacking any personality like the previous games.
Art isn't optimization or efficiency. We want an artist to make us feel something.
Good try on trying to sound introspective there, but based off that statement, you kind of proved the artist right.
The game doesn't give a fuck about being authentic. It actually takes 2 seconds to see that this game is a joke.
They provoked anger out of you, so you did feel something.
Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4 had custom typefaces which were bold, which matched the identity of the game. They blended readability with style. They were dynamic. The text actually moved and was alive.
Don't act like this HUD was any good either. This one was also watered down and shit.
It matters because it's objectively wrong. There is no argument in favor of this typeface.
You say that the HUD is objectively wrong, which is wrong, because art is the most subjective thing to ever exist. There is no right or wrong. Just because people like your video, I think it's shit. And that's why art is subjective. There is nothing objective about the HUD or even the game itself. It's just your opinion. Although you think the game sucks, I think it's disappointing, but someone might actually love it. No one is wrong in any of these opinions.
It can't be exactly the same, but also different. It can't be a classic game that's also modern.
Yeah, no shit, that's like the whole idea of a remake. I don't think it was ever the developer's goal to make a one-to-one remake. I think it was to bring this franchise that people hold near and dear and bring it to the next generation of consoles.
And yet, you're told that you are wrong. You're told over and over again, the game is right. The game is a perfect remake. And the game is worth $70.
By fucking who? IGN? If you're going to IGN to judge whether a game is good or not, don't play video games, Jesus Christ.
You say that those two things are not the same, but the game industry says 100 times that yes, they are.
Like, who is they or the gaming industry? It's such a vague generalization. No one of your description has ever gaslighted me into thinking a game I don't like is good. But you act like corporate bigwigs have some sort of mind control, brainwashing people into thinking their bad games are good. People have opinions. Whether someone is swayed by outside forces comes down to the individual.
They can do whatever they want, and there's nothing you can do about it.
If you want propaganda to be effective, you don't have to convince people that what you are saying is true. You just have to flood the zone with so much untruth constantly that at some point people don't believe anything. It doesn't matter if everybody believes it. It just matters if everybody starts kind of throwing up their hands and saying, well, I guess it doesn't matter.
You know, you're just doing the same thing, right? Just because you're a YouTuber and not a gaming publisher, you can still influence people who think alike. The reason I say this is because you think the newly included real-life skaters haven't proven themselves to be in the game over a fake character that was in 2 games, and you blame political correctness.
Vanguard owns 8% of Activision. But Vanguard also owns Yum Brands. In fact, Vanguard is the largest shareholder of Yum Brands. And Yum Brands is the parent company of Taco Bell. Tony Hawk's 3 and 4 features several Taco Bells in the game.
Yeah, I don't need a fucking marketing lesson. I know how consumerism works. To me, this is just petty as fuck. Number 1, who fucking cares that Taco Bell were in cahoots with Tony Hawk? No one's experience, apart from maybe yours, is completely ruined by a Taco Bell shop being in Tony Hawk. I like the look of the Taco Bell soccer shirt, so if that's the trade-off we get, I'm happy with it.
But I was just watching you play Tony Hawk's on the PS2, and there was a McDonald's in the background. Well, okay, so... see, I stumped you. Well, at least that was an original game. It's not a remake that put a McDonald's in where there wasn't one before.
Why should it fucking matter? I don't understand why you're getting so pressed over something so minuscule.
I want to see the faces of the people who made this game. I want to know what they look like.
Aw, Peter, don't be afraid. It's only gay people. Do you think it's just a coincidence that this many people involved with the game are gay, trans, or an ethnic minority?
But everywhere, I'm excited to see more acceptance of the full rainbow of genders and sexualities.
More recognition of our community and representation in the games that get funded. We create personalized web pages for our employees who are gay, a woman, an immigrant, a gay woman, a woman immigrant, or a gay immigrant.
He then continues to take shots at the queer devs at Iron Galaxy. Hey man, try criticizing the fucking game for more than 3 minutes. I get it, Iron Galaxy have a shit record when it comes to making games. Oh, but have I told you yet that Iron Galaxy are full of gays and minorities and not a bunch of white straight guys in their 30s? You echoing this shit just hurts your argument of Iron Galaxy's track record. Because you are right in the fact that Tony Hawk got handed over to these plebs who can't even shit out a good PC port. But when you keep pointing out how gay they are, I would prefer that you'd shut the fuck up than continue with your argument. Mr. Dude starts this section by finally mentioning that Bam is in the video game as a last-minute addition.
They include this guy, but not one of the most iconic skateboarders of all time.
Bam Margera is in the game! He is a secret skater. You will have to complete arbitrary tasks to unlock him. But he's in there!
I actually understand if Tony or even Iron Galaxy didn't want Bam in the game, because if you kept up with Bam's life at all, you'd know that he has been an insanely problematic person. His battle with addiction, refusal to go to rehab, going to rehab then withdrawing, starting fights, private and public mental breakdowns, dysfunction within the Margera family that Bam caused, randomly lashing out at his ex-wife over his son, making up his own language that only he can understand, meltdowns, ramblings, and threats to commit suicide, the feud with Jeff Tremaine and Johnny Knoxville over royalties in Jackass Forever, and even being left off Jackass Forever because he refused to detox during the production of the film.
You fuckers never cared about me, man.
As someone who grew up with the Tony Hawk games, Jackass, Element VHS tapes, Viva La Bam, fuck, I even watched Bam's Unholy Union. Seeing this dude that was a massive part of my childhood just going through this downward spiral after the loss of Ryan Dunn was just so sad to see. Thankfully, Bam is doing well, physically and mentally as of late, hence why he was included in Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4 in the first place. And it was a great addition because I don't know if I would have bought the game at release if Bam wasn't in the game. That being said, I understand if he wasn't there because up until a few years ago, Bam was a train wreck of a person. So having someone that unpredictable doing face scans and or mocap could be problematic. And having someone with the reputation that he had could also be controversial because you are rewarding and putting cash in a person's pocket when he clearly needs help.
All these insatiable gamers started complaining that there's no open world. They added an option to change the timer from 2 minutes to 60 minutes. So you can play the game at your own leisurely pace.
He also talks about the timer length in the game mods section being a last minute inclusion, and I can't find anywhere that is deemed to be fact. To my knowledge, it was always going to be an inclusion. In terms of career mode, that is a valid criticism. I also don't understand why Iron Galaxy thought it would be a good move to keep the Pro Skater 3 format and incorporate it into Pro Skater 4 when both original games are insanely different in the way they play. If anything, having a career mode for 4 would have benefited the game because it would have felt like you have 2 different skating games in one. Mr. Dude then debunks how easily this could have been achieved by using the tutorial levels as an example.
This mode is an open world environment, just like the original. You can go to these videotapes to start the mission. And then Tony talks to you with his sweet, delicate lips, and then you do the mission, and when you're done, you go along your merry way. So this is definitive proof that they could have made it into an open world. This is exactly what it would have looked like. They just didn't feel like it.
Another point which I agree with was over 3/4 of the original soundtrack was just gone.
84%
of the original soundtrack is gone too. The licensing was just too expensive. It couldn't be done.
47 songs are missing from the game. That is abysmal. Tony Hawk said that it's because he wants to introduce new music to his young and impressionable fans.
This was obviously due to licensing issues, like I get it, but 84% of the original soundtrack was just gone. And that's just fucking weak by Activision because you know that they had the budget to at least get 85% of the songs back. Like, they just didn't want to. Like, don't get me wrong, I do like some of the new songs, but I'm here for that nostalgia factor and not to listen to 100 gecs. There are examples of Tony Hawk actually trying to hide this in interviews.
Just what I think is fits and what I'm interested in. Let's keep it fresh. And also here's help discovering other music.
But yeah, nah, I'm not buying that shit.
Is it a bummer that we weren't invited or they didn't include us? Absolutely.
And when Tony Hawk was asked about this, he didn't say that there was licensing issues.
I wasn't zeroing in on them per se. It was more that we're trying to make room for new acts and new songs as well, and not everything makes the cut.
The small dude then tries to shit on Kurt Tillmans with his reaction to being asked about the multiplayer. He answered no to the poorly worded questions.
Mostly what I want to know about is online. Is there going to be a set custom go to custom restart feature that was in the old ones? Do you remember what that was? In the older games, you could select if you wanted to play 2v2, 4v3, or like, is there any sort of team play?
No.
Okay. What about online server browser?
Not at this point.
Okay. What's a new thing that you're going to talk about, or that you can talk about as of today, or like the past week? Is there anything new that you want to like? What about? Can you comment on Mike Vallely?
I can't. He's not in the game.
Okay.
You can't even say his name right. It's valid.
Can you comment on New Game Plus or Game Plus mode, whatever it's called?
What's that?
Is it like a new set of goals after you complete the first set of goals?
It's an interesting idea.
Is it?
Yeah.
Combo letters?
That also an interesting idea.
Spoiler alert, he played dumb to hide the fact that there were going to be pro goals, so New Game Plus was technically a thing. But I'm pretty sure this interview was to take the piss anyway.
These are the people who got a gay woman into a Tony Hawk's game. That's pretty funny, but also very important. You know the original Tony Hawk's games already had a gay woman. Rodney Mullen? No, Alyssa Steamer. Who the hell is that? It's a queer woman who's been in the game since the first one.
I haven't been only gay. I've been hetero. I've been this, that, and the other. You know what I mean?
I get it, you heard Leo Baker say queer to soften the impact of what he meant, but if you can put 2 and 2 together, he is the first trans playable character in Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, which is like, yeah, that's cool, but that's not why he's in the game. He's in there because he's one of the best and marketable skaters in the world right now, just like the rest of the roster. You'd know that if you actually liked skateboarding and realized that skateboarding is an actual sport and not a fantasy mythical game that's being ruined by women, trans, and minorities.
Can you imagine if games companies were obsessed with making good games instead of being obsessed with normalizing homosexuality?
You make the statement of, wouldn't it be great if developers cared about making games instead of revolving the game around homosexuality? And to that I say, you have a point. But in this context, it doesn't really land as hard. Just because there is a trans character and a few women doesn't make the game woke. If you watch the sport, you would A, find out once again that these are real people and not just made up characters for a skate game, and B, that these people are the best in the world at what they do. I feel like a fucking broken record saying this shit over and over again.
Sexuality and identity are separate. A person's sexuality is inside. It can...
What in the Backlash 2006 promo is this?
Businesses with a market value of $74 billion don't get there through kindness and love. You get there by selling as many products to as many people as possible. Activision has no ethics. They're not for anything. They're not against anything. It doesn't think. It doesn't feel. Activision is an emotionless corporation. Their only objective is to always have money coming in, and for it to always be more money than last year.
I'm sorry, how is this new to anyone who's watching this and doing the Leo DeCap point when they're hearing this shit? Yes, of course companies piggyback off trends and social events because it makes dosh. This is nothing new. This has happened for fucking yonks. Look, you could conclude that I am hating on this guy because he has an opinion. But you'd be wrong. I called out this video because I'm overly critical, and the fact that 1 hour out of its 1 hour and 20 runtime was him just having a problem with gays ruining his favorite video game. And don't come for me, like, those are his words.
But you can be critical and still enjoy things. Look, I'm aware of the unimaginable evil that goes on in our world, but I still see beautiful things. A team working together towards a unified vision is beautiful. Designing a system of controller inputs that entertains people for years, that's crazy, man! And there will be more happiness in the world if more people know about great art and more people know how to create it. That's why it's so important to have great works out there that are accessible for people, that people can see, so that they can see it and be inspired to make other great things.
That's a little hypocritical. Just because they didn't see the same success of the previous remake doesn't mean the devs at Iron Galaxy didn't come together and create something that they're happy with. Sorry, I misspoke. Only a team of straight white males in their 30s can come together to make something beautiful. Yo, what team are you playing for, my guy? Because that sounds kind of gay.
The people responsible for this product are not masters of the craft, and they don't respect the craft. And because this is what's being pushed out there, young people now are going to see this, and that's going to be their standard. They're not even going to know what the original standard was. That does nothing for the progression of the medium.
Holy shit, anyone would think that he made the fucking original game himself. Bro, if someone finds a remake intriguing enough, they will go back and play the original. It's not going anywhere.
It doesn't inspire people. It does not create new masters of the craft. And if this does inspire people, that's an even bigger tragedy.
What the fuck are you on about? Not every dev shits out a masterpiece. For someone who worked on this game, it could be a stepping stone for bigger and greater things. Maybe the creative director of this remake will be the creative director for the next big Bethesda game or the next Resident Evil game. What a if you don't succeed, give up kind of attitude. Everyone starts somewhere, and for a studio who has literally done jack shit up until this point, they're probably really proud of what they've done. And like I said, the game's not absolute dog shit, it's just insanely disappointing, but I am sure the game still has its fans.
But these games are not clearly advertised as remakes. The artwork just has the original game's title in full. It doesn't say remake. You can easily play this without ever knowing there's another version.
Very interesting observation that you can literally sum up to every remake that's ever been made. I didn't need to know that the Resident Evil 2 remake had a game of the same name come before it, because the Resi 2 remake doesn't need players to play the original before playing the game to enjoy themselves. The small dude fails to actually talk about the game to pretty much any capacity, and I think that's what made me make this video, because it was more about him just bashing the sexuality of the devs, which I think should be mentioned to an extent, especially when you're talking about some of the risky content that was removed for a predominantly male audience. But when you make it over half your video, it should have really just been a hit piece on Iron Galaxy itself. The very few times he actually does talk about the game, I find myself agreeing at some points. The game does look boring and plain, the environments are dull, the change in direction for 4 was a terrible choice. But if those are the only problems that I can pick out of your game criticism, congrats, you've just made a misleading crappy video. Why didn't you talk about the game's latency when doing tricks, and at times irresponsive when trying to grind, manual or revert? What about the balance mechanic being dog shit, making you bail before you even reach the end of the balance counter? The graphics are serviceable, but fail to elevate the look of the game. These criticisms are actually valid because they are actual criticisms of the game. Instead, you just bash the studio for being gay, which is not a valid criticism of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4 remake. But yeah, that's pretty much it. What a video to kind of break down. Like I said before, I'm not taking shots at this creator because he has an opinion. It's fine to have your opinion, and if he doesn't like the game because of the studio being filled with women and gay people, I'm not going to change his mind. Have fun if you want to try it. I'm just saying that the video itself was very misleading in terms of he failed to actually talk about the game being bad, and more so the people behind it being bad. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got. Let me know what you thought about Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4. Did you like it? You hate it? Didn't like the gays in the Iron Galaxy? But yeah, that's pretty much it, and I'll see you in the next one. Right, latest.